I've gotten to a point in my career where I was making pretty good money, and it's because up until December of 2025, like a month ago, I was working two full-time jobs at once. And they were both remote. They didn't know about each other, but I was pulling it off. And it's because I needed that to clear out debt, to move to Chicago and all those things. I did what I had to do. But once I got here to this mountaintop that I've been working so hard to get to for so long, I finally had time to breathe and time to reflect. And I realized that I haven't been happy in a long time because I'm not happy with what I'm doing. And so instead of putting my dreams and my passions and my talents on the back burner, I'm putting them on the front burner now. And I might as well make some money while I do that by working at one of these high end restaurants around here. And so, yeah.
Okay, so I first have to start off by saying I have interviewed people from all, like literally all over the world, but I think that you by far are the most unique simply for the fact that you were the only person I've ever interviewed that I went to high school with.
Well, yeah, like we met when I was 14 and you were 15. You were an upperclassman.
Yeah, we didn't even graduate the same time, but I promise you, when I graduated, I might have kept up with like a handful of people, as in
Yeah.
like maybe three. And I don't keep up with any of those people anymore at all. So you were
Yeah.
literally one of the very few people that I actually willingly and lovingly actually engage with in some
I
way, shape, or form.
That's a huge, huge compliment. Like that means so much to me because there were a lot of people we went to high school with that, like, can I be just completely candid on this interview?
Yes.
They were just losers. And it's like, I don't want to see you ever again. And like, but like, I feel like me and you have always clicked in a certain way. Like, we're very much kindred spirits, at least on an intellectual level. I feel like we haven't hung out
Hmm.
enough for me to say more than that, but like we've always been on the same page in a lot of different ways. So I'm really happy to be doing this.
Yeah. Oh, well, good. I remember when I graduated, I can't remember who it was. It was like either a relative or a family friend. They were like, old people, as in like people now closer to our age. But they
Grown
were like,
people.
yeah, they were like, some people like this is like the height of their lives, like
Mhm.
graduating high school. And I couldn't fathom that until like recently. And I say that because we recently moved back home. Um,
Oh,
and so it's been interesting. Like I've seen people, I don't talk to people though, but it's interesting seeing people and like you can just tell some people's lives like never change. It's like Groundhog's Day.
one of the athletes, one of the really popular athletes that we went to school with has passed away, if you can believe it.
I think I know who you're talking about.
I,
A
yeah,
few
I don't
years
know.
ago.
I think so. Dark skin, really pretty teeth, and very handsome guy.
Yeah.
When I told my brother Donovan that, he was like, "What?"
Yeah.
So it's like it's crazy. Like that actually was the peak of his life because his life was so short.
Yeah.
There's so many memories. It's like walking back in time. And so like I ran into a girl that I went to high school with the other day just before I left Birmingham, and I was like, "Whoa!" It's like a different universe.
Yeah. No, I mean, we lived in Atlanta for like 8 years. And so when we
Mm,
decided to come back to be closer to family and stuff, it I feel like I'm one of those lucky ones because I didn't really talk to anybody. Like
yeah.
I'm sure people remember me from high school, but I don't think that I would know them well enough to like strike up conversation. So it
You definitely
basically,
minded your business. Like you weren't an outcast, but you also were not trying to be in everybody's face.
yes, very much.
Yeah.
And yeah, now that we're back, I just feel kind of like a stranger in this city that I used to be because I don't talk to anybody really. Generally, these interviews are pretty casual and conversational, and so I let them form however they form. I will say, as you being someone that I knew in high school, and one of the few people that I still keep up with, as in like one of three, two. Maybe
Okay.
you might be the only one. I guess he's like a default. What have you been up to since graduating?
Lots has happened since 2012, Kashara. Um, so I graduated Murphy, and then I went to Montevallo to study journalism. I believe you studied journalism too, right? Or
No, girl. I went in as a neuroscience major and I left as like a graphic design art history double major.
I don't know where I got journalism from then. Maybe it's always been in your vibe because you're
A little
interviewing me.
bit, yeah, yeah.
So I went to Montevallo where I studied journalism and PR. And then after Montevallo, I kind of have just been bouncing around for the past, I don't know, what's that, 9 or 10 years. And by bouncing around, I mean, I've inadvertently created a career in marketing and kind of tech, like UX. I've worked, so my first job out of college was I was a door to door salesman,
Mm.
saleswoman. I was actually really good at it. And but eventually I quit there and then, started serving like waiting tables until I found like a real job, like an office job. I thought it was a real job. I made more money serving. And so, yeah, I've just been in marketing. And then in the meantime, in order to stay connected with my journalism roots, because that's truly, truly my passion, I created a website back in the day, which I actually interviewed you for, called The 99. And I did the Voices of the Sisterhood project. And I believe that's what I interviewed you for.
You interviewed me?
I sent you a list of questions. So it wasn't like a face to face interview
Oh,
with me.
okay. Because I'm like, I feel like I would have remembered that.
No, it was just a face to face. I mean, it was just like I emailed you a list of questions and I gave you the option of which one of the questions you wanted to answer. I will
Yeah.
send you a link after this to remind you of that project.
Please
It was
do.
years back. It was like 2019. But I was doing that. It was a human interest website. And
Mm.
then I put that on ice because I realized I wanted to do more. And so in the past couple of years, I've been trying to set the foundation for a magazine that I'm creating. And I want to eventually be like the Martha Stewart of journalism. I want an omni media presence. Um, as far as as far as human interest journalism goes, I feel like there's a gap for that.
Mm.
Most journalism focuses on sensationalized politics. If it bleeds, it leads. Bad news, essentially. And it's not necessarily that I want to dedicate my career to good news, but I want to focus on human beings rather than systems, politicians, stuff like that. And so right now, I'm currently working at a bank, but I'm getting ready to make a major career pivot and go back to working in restaurants full time while I pursue entrepreneurship and my creative pursuits full time.
I'm so proud of you. That's exciting.
You.
I also love the fact that you're like, okay, I'm gonna go work this job that pays the bills, but also like pursue my dreams and like build this thing that I really, really want. Because I feel like so often there's that binary of like either this or that. Um, and you're
Well,
doing both.
yeah, I mean, I've lived in that binary for the past 10 years and I've decided recently, and by recently I mean like in the past month, that I don't want to do that anymore. Um,
Um,
I I've gotten to a point in my career where I was making pretty good money, and it's because up until December of 2025, like a month ago, I was working two full-time jobs at once. And they were both remote. They didn't know about each other, but I was pulling it off. And it's because I needed that to clear out debt, to move to Chicago and all those things. I did what I had to do. But once I got here to this mountaintop that I've been working so hard to get to for so long, I finally had time to breathe and time to reflect. And I realized that I haven't been happy in a long time because I'm not happy with what I'm doing. And so instead of putting my dreams and my passions and my talents on the back burner, I'm putting them on the front burner now. And I might as well make some money while I do that by working at one of these high end restaurants around here. And so, yeah,
so how does it feel to have made that decision?
I'm still working, I'm still processing it. I haven't landed a job at a restaurant yet. I literally just filled out the application this past weekend. So when I tell you this is very recent, like happening right now, recent, it feels it feels aligned. And that's the space in my life that I'm in right now. I want to only do things that are aligned with my spirit, with my soul. You know what I mean? Like, not to get too esoteric on your
Oh
interview,
no, we
but
can get there. Yeah.
okay. I
Yeah.
mean, I
Yeah.
have to say about it, and it's because like I've done what I thought I should do as an adult: get an office job, become a salaried employee, which when I was 23 seemed like a pinnacle. Become a salaried employee, and you're not going to make any real money doing your art and doing your journalism and all of that. So like you might as well put it on the back burner. But I'll tell you what started building my confidence, and that's posting on TikTok.
Mm.
I didn't realize, like, I've always had things to say, as you know. Known you for a long time, known you for half my
Yes.
life. As you know, I have always been very opinionated, very vocal, and people have a tendency to flock to that, whether they agree or disagree. It creates attention. But I don't think that I realized how valuable my voice was until I started going viral a bunch last year. And I started realizing, oh, I don't actually have to dumb myself down when I talk to people in order to keep them from feeling intimidated. I can just be myself, and I can be my nerdy, unique self. And people actually want to see that. And now I'm at this point where I'm like, why don't I allow myself to be seen again? I want to allow myself to be seen and stop hiding away from what I feel like is destined to be my life. So I'll stop there. I feel like I'm rambling.
No, you're not rambling. That what you're describing, we really are kindred spirits because
Mhm.
I feel like that's been so much of my life for like the last 10 years. Like I remember when I graduated in 2016, and the thing that every graphic design student does is they go and apply to work at agencies.
Yeah,
And there were some quote big agencies in Birmingham, and I just when we talk about alignment, that was just one of those things I was like, something doesn't.
I worked at an agency in Birmingham too. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's just something that doesn't feel right. I don't know what it is, but I just remember going in because we would go on like field trips. And I just remember going in and being like, this isn't quite it. And so I've spent the last 10 years, anything that's design related, I've likely done it. It's like I've done prop styling. I've
Mhm.
always freelance graphic design, gotten into website design. I worked at an architecture firm doing marketing, and that's how I got into marketing and communications and stuff like that. But that focusing on alignment aspect
Yeah.
is so important. And I feel like I had this conversation with Akil a couple weeks when I was like a few days ago, where I was telling him, I was like, oh, I think this is like a normal part. This is a point that I think a lot of people get to, and this is where the cliff is, where you have, say, a dream, like for me, building up Reverb and Root to be like a globally known company, and for you, like what you want to build. Um,
Yeah.
but there's that point at which you're trying and you have to make that decision of do I keep going or do I choose the safe route? And I
Mm.
said, oh, I bet you this is normal because we're hitting like our 30s. We are in our
Mhm.
30s now. I'll be
Yeah,
33
in
next
our
month.
30s. Yeah, we are not kidding
And
you. In
this is the
it.
point at which I feel like people are like, oh, well, I've been trying for my like for my 20s and now I'm in my 30s. I should go do like the safe thing and like give this up or make it a hobby. And I was like, this is like a normal feeling of like, do you keep going? Do you bet on yourself or do you choose the safe route, you know? So
Yeah.
that alignment piece is really, really important. So I feel like this conversation is very timely.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that I was talking to my sister-in-law about it the other day, just the other week. And I was saying, like, in my 20s, I think what mattered most to me was certainty, because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what my value was as a person, like my worth. And I'm like, not in any like dark, I hate myself kind of
Yeah.
way, but in a I'm a baby. Like I just got here. Like, I don't know what my strengths are, even because it comes naturally to me. So I don't even know what they are, let alone how to capitalize on them. You know what I mean? And so I was just doing what I saw those around me doing, which was you get an office job, you lock in, you get an apartment, you do the responsible thing, and it's gotten me far. So I don't regret it. But I think, there comes a point where you have to ask yourself, what is more important? Certainty and predictability, or expansion and alignment? And I think that's where we are.
Mhm.
And some
Yeah.
people hit that piece when they're 18, some people hit it when they're 32, 33 like us, or 31, 30, whatever. And then some people hit it at 40, 50, 60. But I think there comes a point in everybody's life where they're like, when am I going to start being me again?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when I was probably about 26 when I started having these like thoughts with myself of like, I feel like I could be doing more. I feel like I'm doing a lot, but is this thing that I really want to do? Like, do I really want to do prop styling? Do I really want to work at this architecture firm? I was trying to figure it out. And I remember my therapist, she was like, Kashara, she was like, Kashara, you're living below your like below the radar, and that's not where you belong.
Hmm.
I was like,
Dang. Okay.
because, and you're like you're saying, like in your 20s, you're just trying to figure it out. And, I think when you're used to like growing up, being told what to do, you go to school, getting basically told what to do, told what things are going to be like. And then by the time you're out, you're like, okay, I guess, like you said, like I'll just do what everybody else is doing. And maybe the
Yeah.
things that I think are interesting to me, I'll just treat those as like hobbies and like do it on the side. So like I did a lot of stuff just on the side, instead of taking myself
Yes.
seriously in a
Taking
lot of
yourself
ways.
seriously. Yeah. Yeah. That's important.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, so what made you choose Chicago?
To be completely honest with you, I just was called here. Like, it was like a pull. It was not random. I grew up thinking that I always wanted to live in New York City. Like, that was like since I was like 8, 9, 10. I was like, New York, I'm destined to live in New York City. But then I got older, like 29, 30, and I started actually looking at the real estate prices of New York City. And I was like, even if I were a millionaire, I would not spend this much money for an apartment this size. Like, I'm not like millionaire or thousandaire. I'm not wasting my money on 1,000 square foot apartment that's somehow $500,000. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
And so there was like this little voice in my head that was like, look at Chicago. So I started browsing places in Chicago and I was blown away by how affordable it is here. Like, there's something at every price point. And so I was like, Chicago. And I have a friend that lives here. She doesn't know I'm here yet. I haven't told her yet. I have a friend that lives here, and she had been inviting me to Chicago for like a couple of years, and I just hadn't had the chance to do it. So I finally visited for my 30th birthday. And I fell in love. I was like, this is it. This is what I've been craving this entire time. And I had gone to Portugal earlier that year in 2024, and it was my first international trip, not counting the Bahamas because I don't think that counts, but like it was my first international trip. And what I realized on that trip was, among many things, oh, I have to live somewhere walkable. Like, I didn't even realize that was a need for me until I went somewhere walkable and I saw what it could be like. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I definitely have to get out of here now. Like, I always knew I was going to leave Alabama, but I came to Chicago for many reasons. One of them being I wanted to live somewhere walkable, wanted to live somewhere where the local government and the state government actually invested in the infrastructure and the arts and culture scene and in the citizens. But I also came here looking for a community that I don't believe I ever had in Alabama.
Mm.
Yeah, I just never felt like I belonged in Alabama, and I feel like I belong here.
Yeah. Um, I agree. I think that's probably why I don't really have any friends here. I've got like a couple of friends that I see
Yeah.
semi-regularly, but I always kind of pride myself on the fact that all of my friends live in other places in the country or in the world. So I'm like, I could, if I ever wanted to go and like vacation somewhere or just I always have a place that I can go on at least one in every continent.
Yeah. So are you guys where you are, like, are you there to stay or is
Yeah.
this very okay?
Yeah. Here to stay. I don't, I feel like looking back now, I'm like, I think that there was a pull for me too, like almost ancestral. Like I've been doing a lot of like family history type things and I when I graduated high school, I left just like as soon as possible. Like there was no way I was choosing the University of Alabama. I was like,
Hey,
I'm
yeah.
like,
I
we're
used
out
to
of
say
here.
South, going to South would be like 13th grade. I
Yeah, I
hadn't
was
want.
like, we're out of here. Goodbye. But I feel like being here, in Atlanta, I felt like we did everything there was to do in a lot of ways. Um, and having been there before the pandemic and then after the pandemic was very interesting to experience and watch. And so, yeah, I appreciate being closer to family now, in a way that I didn't appreciate it before the pandemic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I completely understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Mobile has pluses. I mean, it's close by to a lot of really great things.
yeah, and I being down here, it's nice because I mean, I work for myself, so my experience of living down here is different than it would have been if I, worked for somebody or, um, and so like for me, I'm in a place where I'm like, I think I want to like slow down. Wherever I've got like my roots, I want to be like slow there. So like I go to the beach when it's warm.
Mm-hmm.
I go sit in coffee shops and read. Like those are things that I didn't really prioritize when I lived in Atlanta. In Atlanta, it was just like going downtown, working downtown,
Yeah,
like all the things.
yeah,
And we really love traveling. So being here with the low cost of living gives us the
and
opportunity to be able to do the traveling that we want to do.
100%. There's two or three things that I miss about Mobile, and that's the food. I miss the Carpe Diem coffee house
I
on
love that
Oceana.
place.
I love Carpe Diem, and I miss the beach. And oh, and four things: the proximity to New Orleans. And
Yes.
so, yeah, yeah, I completely get it. I completely get it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been nice in a lot of ways. I haven't really seen or felt any real cons, but I think that's probably because I'm very intentional with where I go and who I talk to.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, there were only cons for me, and my family went through a lot in Mobile, and
yeah.
so when I say memories, what I mean is trauma.
Mm,
That's what I mean. And like Mobile was not a good place for us, but that doesn't apply to everybody. Like
yeah.
there are some people I've seen online who are saying like, I can't wait to leave Chicago. I've been here my whole life. Like it's horrible. Meanwhile, I love it. I'm gonna stay here forever.
Yeah.
So it just depends on the person.
I think that's probably such a common experience. Like wherever you're from, you immediately like
Mhm.
you want to go. Like I wanted to leave here because my family life on the outside looked really good, but on the inside it just was kind of
Yeah,
dysfunctional. And up until like I went to Murphy, like I was bullied like pretty badly from like middle school so
me too.
I was like, I got to get out of here,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like having that experience with bullying and people trying to make you feel small, you do wind up internalizing that smallness. And I think that's probably why we, at the age that we are now, are like, I don't want to be small anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you work your way through and out of that?
I'm still working my way through. So there were a lot of things because I was in therapy too, for a few years. There were a lot of things that I had to work through before I got to this point. Like healing is not linear,
Mm,
and I had to work my way out of all types of toxic, unhealthy attachments. Just like old mindsets and habits that I had that were just like wrecking me and that I just like they not only did they no longer serve me, that I don't think they ever did serve me. And so I'm just now getting to a point where I can look within and be like, "Oh, I've been shrinking. I didn't even realize that I had been shrinking." And sometimes you don't realize you've been shrinking until you get in a more expanded environment and you realize like, oh, I only grew as big as that container would allow at the time. And I think this becoming started in maybe 2022, 2023. Um, and that was the year I was like 29. So really like a Saturn return
Mhm.
situation. Like that's when my Saturn return started. And it's ending now, thank God. But it just got to a point where I was like, I am starting to notice things that I don't know if I didn't notice it before or if I just put it on the back burner, self abandonment, that type of thing. But I started questioning certain things and it started small, like a trickle. And it was like, I don't actually like these people I'm hanging out with, do I? Like, I don't know that these are actually my friends. And then I think back and I'm like, oh, I met them at a time where I was partying all the time, constantly drinking and smoking and doing all kinds of stuff. I definitely wasn't vetting.
Mhm.
Like I was doing everything but vetting people. And so I get into my late 20s and I'm like, oh, I never vetted you. And it shows because I don't actually like you as a person. So I started distancing myself a little bit more and a little bit more until I was a full on hermit. And it started to occur to me that I had spent my whole life thinking about like over empathizing with other people and not empathizing enough with myself. Like when it comes to like relationships, there was one really particular one that was pretty bad for me. Like he wasn't a evil, horrible person, but he was a broken person. And so it was really bad for me. And I realized at about 26 or 27, I was like, I have been this entire time obsessed with the idea of him choosing me and loving me and like treating me well and it's just now occurring to me that I don't even want to choose him. I don't even know if I actually love him and I'm not treating myself well. And that's I think how it started, like censoring myself rather than censoring men or validation and stuff like that. And so now I'm at this point where I'm like, actually I deserve everything I've ever wanted and I'm going to get it. So it's been a long journey.
That sounds really powerful, though.
Yeah, it is. I feel
Yeah.
like I've completely changed as a person, and maybe not on the outside, but definitely on the inside.
Yeah. No, especially when it comes to people, like I just assume that if I haven't talked to you or like hung out with you or spent time with you in like the last 5+ years, that you're probably like a whole different person
Yeah,
than when I first like met you. Because I
yeah. I
don't
mean,
think in a lot of ways that I think I'm like much different than I was. Like I think that all of us at our core are kind of like the core parts of us are the same, but the outer stuff, like the other stuff
the deeper
around
stuff.
it. Yeah,
Like, I
that's
mean, just
different.
like sitting here talking to you, like you seem like the same Kashara that I knew in high school, but I know there's been so many things that have had to happen since then, like reconnections, disconnections, revelations, deepenings on all different levels. And I think that aging, and I feel ridiculous talking about aging because we're in our early 30s, like get back to me when I'm 70, but like when I think about aging, I think of it as a journey of like coming back home to yourself because you get so far away from yourself and you don't even realize you've gotten that far away until you look up and you're like, holy shit,
Yeah.
what have I done? Like who am I? Who have I become? And you don't even realize you're doing it. I think it starts in high school or middle school. And then you just like get further and further away from your root and your core. And then once you hit the age of 30, it's about rerouting and like coming back.
Yeah. I agree. And honestly, I when I turned 30, I had mixed feelings about it because I felt like once I turn 30, I'm going to be considered old and no one's going to care about me or my thoughts because people like this society really highly values people who are young. And to me, in my mind, I was like, young is 29 or lower. Um,
Can
which
I be
looking back
honest?
now, I'm like, that's kind of crazy to think. Like, that's really wild to think. Like I
Yeah,
should have like planned, I should have just had more expansive thinking. I wish I did at that time because I wouldn't have caused like so much like angst. Um,
yeah.
but since turning 30, I feel like it's more freeing because in my mind, I'm like, I don't have that, like, if that is the case that like society doesn't value people, like women specifically, as you get older, then like I can just be whoever I want to be and like I can do whatever I want to do. And I can, like, I don't have that. I don't know if I'm making any sense. That kind
No,
of
no.
that pressure of youth, if that
Self-limitation.
Yes. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Well, to be honest, it might be a wild take. I don't know. Like, you follow me on stuff, so you already know how I think. But, like, can I just say this?
yes.
A couple things. One, I've been looking forward to being in my 30s since I was about 10. Not kidding. When I finally turned 30, I was like, I have arrived. I was born to be 30. Okay. Childhood didn't suit me well. And being super young did not suit me well. And so I love it. Just say that. But you said that society values youth, you know. I actually think society is like, this is gonna sound I just feel like I'm about to take this conversation so left. I actually
Take
think
it.
that society values youth because pedophilia is a huge issue. And I think that they overvalue youth, particularly in women, because they want little girls. And
Mhm.
so when the whole valuation of like super skinny women, that's because super skinny women look like prepubescent girls.
Yeah.
Like, you value youth because women who are under the age of 30 are infinitely easier to control and to manipulate. And so were you raised religious by chance?
Girl, you know.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. So every time I meet a young woman or just a woman in general who was raised religious, she has such limiting beliefs about what it means to be a woman because that's what religion does. And I don't mean to offend you. I don't mean to talk down on how you were raised in any way.
Oh, no, I don't feel offended. Yeah, I've got lots
Okay,
of thoughts on deconstruction and all of that
okay,
stuff.
good,
Yeah, yeah,
good.
yeah.
I think I started my deconstruction. I was never really fully in it in the first place, but like I pretty much completely deconstructed by the time I was like 21 or 22. So I was like, this is fucking ridiculous. Like, and I just think that religion conditions women to diminish everything about themselves, like their intellect, their sexuality, their bodies, their hair, their nail color. I mean, like everything, the way they
Hmm.
do their makeup. And it wants women to stay so one dimensional and so childlike so that the men can feel like big men. I think that's bullshit. And so the fact that you thought that by 30 you would lose value is a sure sign of something wrong, not with you, but with our society at large. Because why are y'all so obsessed with children?
Yeah.
Children have nothing to offer but innocence, naivete, and completely defenselessness. Like, so that's weird to me. Like, once women hit 27, 30, something shifts and they become women. And I love it. And I used to feel so weird calling myself a woman until I was like 27, 28, and then I realized like, oh, I actually feel like a woman now. I don't just feel like a kid anymore. And a woman blossoming is like a beautiful thing. And I hate that there's so much stigma around women no longer being girls. Like, that's so gross to me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, I think probably about 26 is when my mind started to, things started to click a bit more for sure.
Well developed.
Hmm. Um,
Mhm.
I think the other reason I had angst about 30 was because I think I had an idea of like where my life was supposed to be by that point. Like I think in my mind, I thought, okay, by the time I turn 30, I'm gonna have everything figured out and I'm gonna have that career. I'm going to like, I don't think I ever thought about owning a house really at
Yeah.
30 because I think we tried. We did try, but the market and especially by that point was like super crazy. So, but I think by the time I turned 30, I was like, oh, I thought that I was gonna have done all these things, and I have done a lot of things. But like if you look at the things I've done on paper, like these things it's not linear, I didn't become like an assistant and then a associate and then a manager and like all of like the other people that I knew. um
Yeah.
Now looking back I realize that's called a portfolio career. That's what I've been building this whole time, but there was no word for portfolio career either back then, not really. People talk about
I,
it a lot more now, but
I didn't even know that term. I just learned that phrase. Portfolio career is just like a
up
linear career.
it's a non-linear career. Portfolio career, it's um basically it's just you've done a lot of things and they don't have they have like a common thread maybe in like the for example, I may have done prop styling and some marketing and design and some book design stuff. The None of those things may seem related to each other. I might
It,
have done some floral design, but the common thread is like I love to do design, as
yeah,
opposed to I worked at this ad agency and I came in as like a junior designer and then a senior designer and like so it's
the,
basically
the common thread is that you're a visionary.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Okay.
that is called having built a portfolio career. But when there's no word for it and you're approaching 30 and you think that like you're looking at people online who are like similar to your age and they're seem like they've got a career, like a grown-up career. That was really tough for me at 30 as well.
Yeah. I just learned that I have a portfolio career too. That's funny. But I do think that as millennials, we do have to give ourselves grace because that timeline that you just mentioned, very boomer timeline,
Mm.
like very traditional classic adulthood timeline. Back in the day where 30-year-olds would look like 50-year-olds, you know what I mean? Like,
Why did they?
I don't know, girl. I'm like, y'all were rough. Life must have been super hard
Hard
back then.
life, real hard
People
life.
regularly think I'm 25, but when you look at a picture of Otis Redding at 26, he looks 43. But I digress. So, life, America was a lot simpler 40 years ago than it is today. And I think that the nature of being millennial or Gen Z is you have to be creative and flexible enough to pivot every like 2 or 3 years. You have to be because we aren't boomers. And so we can't rely on steady raises, bonuses, appropriate promotions when it's time, pension plans, office Christmas parties, and each year you're making incrementally more and your dollar actually stretches so you can actually raise a family of five on one income and you don't have to make six figures to do it. You can make like 50K to do it and everybody's happy, everybody's fed, the kids get to go on their field trips without any stress. Like we do not live that life because they have so supremely fucked this country up like that. So I think that we have to write a completely new script as
Yeah,
millennials. We cannot base our timelines on their scripts because it's ridiculous. Like we don't live like that anymore.
yeah.
My mother was a single mother for us, me and my brother. And there was a big, huge difference between being a single mother in the 90s and 2000s versus being a single mother now. My mom has openly admitted that now she wouldn't have been able to do it. It's way too expensive. Like she was able to get a great house, like a 3 bedroom house with a backyard and a front porch and everything for like $300 a month rent in 2005.
Ain't no way.
That same house would be $1,200 now.
More.
More,
It'd
more.
probably
Because
be like 2000.
I don't know what the Pleasant Valley area looks like now, like right off of like Pleasant Valley and Government
Yeah,
Boulevard.
yeah.
That's where we were.
Gotcha.
And so I don't know how it's like now. At the time, it was decent. It was a safe neighborhood. It's cool. And she was able to pay $330 a month in rent. And so, yeah, you can be a linear adult in that world. Now you have to be like me, working two full-time jobs, or like having it's just completely different. And
Yeah,
so I what I wanted to do, I realized I had gotten really far away from that path. So it's a little different story from yours. Like you wanted like certain check boxes by 30. Whereas like I think I really underestimated how much confidence and courage and grit it would take to create the life that I was trying to design, and how much mental clarity and how much I couldn't afford distractions.
mm,
And I'm doing that now, and I'm in a much better position to do that now than I was 10 years ago, because 10 years ago I was so distracted. I mean, I was all over the place. I was wild in college. I didn't tell you, I got so wild in college. It was crazy. And like but it's funny, I feel younger now than I did at 20. At
yeah,
20, I felt that pressure of, well, what are you going to do? Who are you going to be? You're an adult now. You have to start, move, 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 move. And now I'm just like, I'm going to go at my own pace. I have plenty of time. And I don't want to work in corporate America anymore. I'm going to do something completely different.
I think that I think that the people who are going to do very well in this, I will say, I feel like 2020, that was like a real moment of shift. Like there was a before and there's like a now after. And I think anyone who is in that mindset that you're in, anyone who's like building a portfolio, like a portfolio career, those of us who have been like building on the side or thinking creatively in that way or like building along the way or piecing careers together. Um, I think that I have very high hopes for the future
Yeah.
because there's absolutely zero safety in going to work for anybody. I mean, they're
Yeah.
firing people on like the day after Christmas these days.
I just got laid off a month ago, a week before Christmas, girl.
And the thing is, that's so crazy because I feel like they used to wait until like after. So I
Yeah.
guess I don't know. I don't think they think about it anymore. For a second, I was like, maybe they tell you beforehand so you don't go out and like buy all these Christmas presents that you're not gonna have money to pay for. But who has money
At
for
that,
that? Yeah,
like at that point, a week before Christmas, the Christmas presents are
they're
bought.
already done. Yeah.
But no, I mean, I had a friend who got laid off the year previously, right around Christmas time. So they do their layoffs in the fourth quarter. It's just it's gotten to this point where I'm so like disgusted by how these corporations operate, and I don't want to get off on like that tangent because that goes into what I'm talking about on TikTok all the time. But I'm just like very I've become very disillusioned by the way this world operates and who's running it. And now I'm at this point, and I feel like a lot of people around our age are at this point where it's like, we're going to create a new world, and it might take the rest of our lives, but we're going to do it. So you said that you are self-employed now. Can you tell me a little bit more about Reverb and Root? Or did I say that
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Um, so I feel like Reverb and Root has been in the making for like probably close to a decade. Like there's little like hints and threads of it that I've been kind of weaving and I didn't know what I was weaving because I've always just followed curiosity and joy. But basically it is a global community that I'm building as well as an archive. And it's based on the premise that I really fully believe that the solutions of this world are going to be solved by Black, Indigenous women and femmes of color
Mhm. Let's
globally.
touch on that later. But the
Yes.
pen, we will circle back.
I think a lot of them are gonna be solved by us. And so I think of Reverb and Root as basically like the support system, the scaffolding that supports those who are building dreams and who are providing solutions. Because there's lots of people who are providing like all of like pointing out all of the problems of the world, but very few. And I think this is probably just a normal thing. There are always people who are pointing out problems, but very few who are pointing out solutions. And
Yeah.
so basically, I created a River Route to help support people who are wanting to build on their dreams, and who are creating things for themselves and for their communities, and for the world at large. And the archives, that's one part. And then the archive is because I think that not enough people think about documenting stories, and there are so many stories that have gone untold from people who look like you and me, um, all over the world. And so my hope is to continue building an archive, a global archive that people can refer to in the future with our stories told by us and for us.
That's beautiful. That is
Thanks.
so cool. You are literally just becoming the leader that you wish we had.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we definitely are kindred spirits because that's almost exactly what I'm trying to do with Slogan. So I said that it's a human interest magazine that will eventually be a human interest media house. But for now, I'm building the magazine. And the reason that I'm doing it is because, like, I just feel that people are becoming more and more cynical at younger and younger ages. And I think that it's because we have forgotten how much power that we each have on an individual internal level, and people are feeling very disempowered because of external circumstances, when really they should be feeling more empowered to change those external circumstances because we can change them. And so I want to help usher in a new era of self actualization through the work that I'm doing by telling stories of people whose stories and whose careers inspire feelings of hope or inspiration or courage, like showing people who, I don't know, started out homeless in the foster care system and now they're running $1 million corporation. Like, I want to tell stories like that so that I can remind people that the power is within you.
Mm.
And so, yeah, and I would like to dedicate the rest of my life to doing that. So we're on the same page.
Yeah, I love that. That's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, where are you so far with it? I mean, well, you said you just have you been, this has been something you've been thinking about for a while, but
It,
where are
yeah.
you in the stage of actually like continuing to bring it to life?
So I've done a little bit more than thinking about it. I mean, I have been trying to build up a website. I've done a couple of interviews. I had to put it on pause, is the thing, because I was so stretched thin with my two jobs and the moving cross country. Like, so I haven't worked on it since maybe September. But here's the thing. I tried to birth this idea in Birmingham and it wasn't working out. And it got to the point where I realized it's because it's not meant to work here. I have to get out of here. Like, this is not working. I don't have the people that I need. I don't have the team, because I need a team. At the bare minimum, I need 7 people, with myself included, to pull this off, because it's huge. Like, a magazine is not a typical business that you start. It's not a brick and mortar bakery shop. It's like you need editorial director, me. You need copy editor, photographer, business people, distribution. I mean, you need so much. And trying to build a team like that for such a visionary project requires being around people with an expansive mindset. And I wasn't finding it. I just wasn't finding it. And so, yeah.
I have, once we get off of here, I have lots of thoughts on
Okay.
what you're saying, specifically with that city.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. We
But
don't want to.
it does you what you're talking about when it comes to, I think timing one, but also place.
Mm-hmm.
Place is so important when it comes to building things.
Yeah.
And you absolutely do have to have people. Yeah, you definitely have to have people in, and it's much easier or lighter of a carry when you are in a place where people do have that kind of open, expansive thinking. Because
Well, we need each other. And that's why you're building a community. And that's why I'm trying to find one, because there comes a point. I did the 99 all by myself, and it shows, because I, it was very haphazard. It was very disorganized, and like, it taught me a lot. It was a good start, but like, it gets to a point where you realize I can't, nor should I do this alone.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm hoping that at some point I can have more people. As of right now, I'm a team of one, and hopefully it doesn't look like I'm a team of one, but I am a
No.
team of one so far. I think for me, what's been helpful is building systems. Systems
Mhm.
have been very important. I think that that's a big part of being able to, because a lot of times, what I'll say, a lot of times people stop because they don't feel like they have the resources. But I'm
Mhm.
like, if you put in the systems, that can keep you afloat for a little while until you can have the capacity to bring in the people, if that
And
makes
what do
sense.
you mean by systems?
So, for example, I've got automations, but I'm thinking forward thinking. So I'm like, okay, eventually I will have like a full team. And so if I've got everything in my head, when I do have that team, like they're not going to know what to do. So I'm building in systems where I literally take all of the knowledge in my head and I create repeatable processes. So I have like templates that I'm creating. I'm like recording like my way of thinking, like why I make a decision that I'm making, so that that way when people do come along, it's not so much of a hurdle for them to be onboarded, things like that.
awesome. You're creating the operations manual.
Uh-huh.
That's
Yes.
brilliant. Ugh, okay.
Yeah, so you wanted, I would suggest anything that is up here, and especially if it's a repeatable thing that you're doing constantly or regularly, get it on paper and also make notes of like why you're doing it, what's your thought process in doing it. So that way, when people do come along and that thing comes up, you can say, oh, well, all of my things are here. And then when they have a question as to why you do something, they have it there. They can see what your thought process is. And because they know your thought process, if they know of a different way to maybe do it that's more efficient, they can come to you and be like, okay, I know your thought process is this, but this is the way I'm thinking about it. And then you can
That's
record that as well. So that's like as it continues growing, you eventually get to a point where it's so much easier to like onboard people and you can really create like a culture off of that.
what I've been focused on since I started building this is the brand identity. And I feel like identity is so important. As you know, you've worked at agencies and you know what types of problems can arise when a brand doesn't know who they are.
Mm,
And the messaging becomes really disintegrated, and it becomes very like it can get chaotic really quickly when you don't have like a landmark to refer back to, as in a brand story or a
mm,
brand identity. And so that's what I've really been focusing on, or at least that's what I was focusing on for like the first year of it, just establishing who it is, not what, but who it is, because it will take on a life of its own. Creating like user personas, coming at it from a very marketing heavy, perspective. And then when it got to the point where it was time to start creating content, that's when I started feeling my lack of support, because I can only do so much. And like at the level that I want to produce at, I don't want to just like do an interview and then like take a photo of them on my iPhone. Like I want to do an interview and then send a photographer a couple of weeks later. You know what I mean? Like
mm.
I really want to make it. And I'm not saying that I need Annie Leibovitz. I'm not saying that it has to be
Well,
perfect,
you
but
don't want her. She doesn't photograph everyone very well.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I know what
But I know
you
what you
mean.
mean, though.
Yeah. But yeah, like I there's like a picture in my head, and what I'm struggling with now is not letting perfect be the enemy of done. So I'm definitely taking notes from you, and I'm about to pick it back up, because I know exactly where I left off down to the timestamp. And so like I need to get back into it. I just had to cross this hurdle of getting to Chicago first.
Yeah. Well, you definitely will. I mean, that done is the, was it perfect is the enemy of done is, I think that's the thing that people keeps people from pursuing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think that's the other part of it too that I had to get to because I frequently would start and then stop and then start and then stop. And I realized it's because I'm trying to do the work of three people just by myself. So I've had to ask myself, like, what's the minimum viable product? Like,
Yeah.
what's the minimum that I could do and do it at like a very high quality, but that doesn't like that's sustainable and that doesn't make me feel like I'm stretched thin. And so for me, it's scheduling the interviews. I'll ask you to send me some of your photos. I just
Mhm.
made a YouTube and that feels pretty sustainable because I'm just gonna like take the content and just,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and just trust that by sharing it in whatever format it is, whether it's highly edited or not, like the people who see the vision, like they need to see it. And
Yeah.
if they understand the vision, they will be able to see what you've put out and will be able to see what it could be and want to be part of that.
Exactly.
But they're not
Exactly.
going to be able to see what it is that you put out and want to be a part of it if you're not putting it out because the thing isn't perfect.
And there's only so much that you can talk about creating before you have to just start fucking creating. Like just start.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the hard part. Like I will say so far that has been the hardest part, is to just start. Um and so like my minimum viable product, I did a little research about Vogue, because that's like my favorite magazine. And Vogue started as literally just like a little pamphlet in like the 1850s or something.
Hmm.
1980s or something like that. Like it started very small, just like paper boys handing out little fashion pamphlets. And now it is the premier fashion magazine in the world.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I hope mine doesn't take 150 years to get to where I need to be, but like, yeah, hopefully I get to enjoy the spoils of that labor earlier than that. But yeah, just putting it on paper and being able to get it out there because I can't go to investors and say, hey, invest in this thing if I haven't even created it yet. I can't get them to invest in an idea. So I
Yeah.
just have to start. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. And there's joy in putting the thing out there. I created a YouTube channel like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And, I have like a series called Building in Public, which sounds exactly what it is, exactly what it sounds like, where I will just set up my computer right here and I hit play on QuickTime and I'll say, I have like a daily or, every other day I'll talk about like what is I'm doing and like the messy parts of building in public. And then I will literally just put that in iMovie, compile it, save it, and post it.
Mm,
Like I'm trying to get to a point, I'm trying to train myself to be okay with putting out the imperfect thing, knowing that eventually it will get better and better. Maybe at some
yeah.
point I'll like I mean, I do have a DSLR camera, but like maybe one day I will. But for now, do I have the time to do all of that? No, but I've got time to do like every morning or in the evening time, press play and like talk, you know,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
just put it out there. Yeah.
And when you look at the way that people consume nowadays, it can be really intimidating because it's become a culture of like, boo, tomato, tomato, tomato. It's like people have reverted back to being like peasants in the stands, like super critical,
Yeah.
super demanding. And there is definitely a level of confidence where you're like, you know what? I don't see you putting yourself out there. I don't see you allowing yourself to be seen trying and to be seen failing. And so until you can do that, until you can set your camera up and read this thick ass book like I'm reading, or do what you're doing the work of three, four, five people, until you guys can do that, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Like I want to see you put some skin in the game before you start criticizing. And if you notice, the people who do put skin in the game,
Don't
who do
say.
don't say nothing. They'll support you.
Yes, I was literally going to say that. I can't think of any instance. I know that there are probably people who are in the arena who are still
Mhm.
talking shit, but it's
Okay, hey
very,
Brown.
yes, that is.
I caught that.
Because I don't know what the other, I mean, that's like the best description. It feels like you are
Yeah.
in arena, but I just, it's very rare that you will find people who are doing things, who are putting things out there, who are putting themselves out there, who will also turn around and talk shit.
Yeah, it doesn't happen
So I
because
take it as like a sign, like if anybody says anything, I'm like, oh, you're not,
yeah.
you're just sitting behind your computer. Like you're
Yeah.
likely not actually doing, like taking risks and putting things out there.
Yeah, it because when you start to do it, you realize how much strength of character it takes.
Yeah.
And suddenly your respect for people who routinely show up for entrepreneurship, who routinely show up as community leaders, who consistently make videos just goes through the roof. I mean, there are people like the videos that I make take so much time and effort. I have like I'm going to show you this real quick.
Okay.
Just see how much goes into it. I have a folder, right? And this folder is filled with notes. I take notes before I make these videos, front and back. Like it's a lot. It's a
I
lot.
mean, I figured you probably were I mean, because I'm on TikTok, not regularly, like consistently, but even just my like 4 or 5 minute videos. I'm like, maybe it should not take this long for me to be making these videos. But so yeah,
Mm.
your videos are even better than mine. And I know, so I'm like, oh yeah, I know she's putting in time.
And they're like 10. The longest video I've made is like a 20-minute video on
Yeah.
TikTok.
And that's
And
hard to do, to
it's
talk for
edited.
that long.
Yes, and I edited the captions like, but it's like I love it. Like it invigorates me so much. Like I'm a huge nerd. I love history. I could literally talk about it forever.
Yeah.
And so when you realize how much goes into it and how scary it is to let that many people see you, Like my most viewed video has over a 500,000 views. And it's terrifying. I'm like, oh my God. Like the first time it happened, I logged on to TikTok and I saw those notifications and my heart literally dropped. I was like, oh, that's very intimidating. And so when you actually start doing it, you look at the people who've been doing it this whole time and making it look easy, and you're like, wow, I have so much respect for you because this is not easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, I do love your content on TikTok. I hope that you will. I mean, even if you don't say it, is it okay for me to at least like add a little link with your TikTok on there?
You can say as much as you want about it. I'm not hiding
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Yeah, you're
I really appreciate your TikToks. You're actually not the first person because I actually bought the book too. Howard Zinn's book.
yeah.
Please, I don't know why I've just blinked on the
Oh,
name.
I didn't know you were waiting for me to say it.
People,
A People's History of the United
thank
States.
you. A People's
Yeah.
History. So I bought it, but there was another, I actually interviewed her. She did a deep dive into A People's History. And so I was
Mhm.
really excited when you did, because I'm like, more people should be talking about this book because once you know the history, you can see it's just like a repeat, you know? Like I last year read A People's History of, or what is it?
And Indigenous People's History.
Yes. I'm like, there's
Yeah.
so many of them. But yeah, so I read that one and that alone was eye-opening because I was like, now that I'm seeing what I'm seeing now, I mean, I very much love history too, but I felt like once I read that book, like my anxiety level went down when I see things now
Yeah.
because I'm like, oh, I've read about this before. Oh, an all-white militia of men, like sanctioned by the government. Oh, I've seen this before.
This is like not
Yeah.
not only is it not original, it's literally copy paste. This happens all the time.
Yeah.
Like it's like I started that series or that playlist because you know tr- this regime and like the far right people, they're just such train wrecks, and there are so many people that are just freaking out. They're like, oh my God, we've never seen this before. Now you know damn well we've seen this before.
As I
Y'all haven't
sit
seen
here in African American.
stares in African American disgust and exhaustion. What do you mean we haven't seen that? We've seen much worse. Trump ain't shit compared to some of the past ones.
Yeah.
This is not even our worst
This
president.
is just this yeah, this is not our worst precedent. This is just
No,
worse for them because the guns and the violence is being turned in a
right. Yeah.
direction that people were not expecting.
We were expecting it. They weren't expecting it.
Oh yeah, I definitely did. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah,
You think
November
you're
2024, I was like, oh, this is the part where I'm gonna take care of me and my people. I'm gonna sit
yeah.
back because this is not mine.
And we all got that nonverbal cue. Like, you know what? I'm done.
I am so interested to see how, because I know that's ancestral. That is
Has to be.
ancestral. It has to be. No one, there was no group. I tell people, I'm like, there was no group Zoom call. 13 million of us were not on a call. I am very interested to see how answering and listening to that ancestral call will look come 20, 30 years from now.
Well, can I actually speak on that a little bit in a
Please do.
very
Yeah.
like esoteric? And I say esoteric because I hate when people say woo woo. I feel like it's insulting. So I'm going to say esoteric.
Yeah.
Okay, but let me finish my primary thought. My primary thought was I started this playlist on TikTok because I am proving a point. I'm doing all of this to prove a point, which is that the American people and the American government are two separate and arguably opposite entities. Our government has never represented us. The closest we've ever come to our government representing us is the Obama years. And even then, he was hemmed in on all sides by Republicans who only wanted to see him fail.
Mm.
So our government has never represented us. And throughout American history, the American people have been nothing short of heroic and rebellious, whereas our government has been imperialistic and oppressive the entire time. Like there's not a moment in our history where they ever stopped doing that. Okay.
I
So,
I agree to an extent. But what the part that I'm kind of like I'm not sure about is when you say that the government versus the American people, like it's been opposed. Because I think that the government has been very much in the interest of white America. And for us, like black and brown people, I would say no, it's been very much opposed. But I think I think the government has been in the best interest of a lot of most of like of white America. I think now when the place that we're at, maybe people are realizing not so much
Yeah.
because that social contract of you work and we'll take care of you and pay for your retirement. You can afford house and kids and this and that, and like look away from black and brown people getting like shot and murdered in the streets and this and that. I think because that social contract is falling apart, maybe that statement is true. I don't know. What do you think?
I think that before I started digging into this book, I thought the exact same thing. And that's not to say, like, oh, you don't know, but I'm saying, like, American history is extremely complicated.
Yeah,
It's nothing but gray area. There actually is no black and white at all. And when you start digging into the history of how they deliberately created racism in order to fracture the working class so that we wouldn't rise up against them. And when you start digging into I mean, even just the Industrial Revolution period alone, looking at how those monopolies have created what we are experiencing today, which is a late stage capitalistic hellscape,
yeah,
and how the ever since at least the 1870s, businesses and corporations have been more powerful than the government itself. When you look at that's the reason why we don't have universal health care, that and racism. And when
mm,
you look at the fact that like big pharma is one of the most profitable industries in the world, but and because it's so profitable, they are always going to lobby against free healthcare because then that means it becomes less profitable. When you look at the fact that America isn't as walkable as Europe, not only because it's like gigantic and it would
yeah,
be really hard to make it, but like American cities or just like neighborhoods are not as walkable as Europe because of the car lobbyists. Like, are white people have white people's interests been prioritized? Yes, but they're standing on top of a burning building. Like, they've never really been taken care of either, because when you look at the way that this country treats women, white women are left out in the cold, whether they know it and want to admit it or not, they are.
mm,
There's so much that goes into how all of us have been exploited beyond any sort of humane, measurable degree. And that's not to say that racism doesn't exist and that white people haven't absolutely gotten it better than everybody else. But white people can't pay rent either. And like even when you go back to the 1890s, they were killing them in those labor strikes more than they were killing us.
yeah,
They were I'm talking about firing live rounds into the crowd. Like, they want us to all be so hung up on, oh, but white people get treated like princesses and the rest of us get treated like dogs, when we're all getting treated like dogs. Some of us are outside of the house, some of us are inside of the house, but we're all dogs.
yeah,
And I feel like when I say that though, people are like, "Oh, you're taking up for white people and you don't think racism is real and you're diminishing." I'm not. I'm just saying, like, assuming that the government is on white people's side is really underestimating how evil they are. It's actually way more fucked up than that. It's way worse than that. But the esoteric part, where you were like the ancestral pull, what was that? In my spiritual belief, and I don't even know if there's a name for it. I'm probably like an omnist. Like, I take a little bit from a lot of different religions. But in my spiritual belief, I do truly believe that what we're witnessing right now and what we've been witnessing over a few years, few decades now, is like the fall of patriarchy as we know it.
yeah,
I That's what's happening. You agree?
yeah, yeah,
And it's been falling since the mid 20th century. And so as the fall of patriarchy happens, all the other things that are connected to patriarchy start to fall as well. White supremacy, capitalism. And so the direct inverse of that fall of patriarchy is this rise of matriarchy. And I think that people really misunderstand what matriarchy means, because they think it's just an inversion of patriarchy with women at the top and everybody at the bottom. But matriarchy is a completely different system. Rather than being a pyramid, it's more of a circle, and the most
hmm,
vulnerable society are on the inside of that circle,
yeah,
and we all just take care of each other. It's a more socialistic way of being. which, by the way, Americans have been fighting for socialism since the 1880s, but you can watch my playlist on TikTok. And so, like, I think that part of matriarchy rising in a natural way all over the world, because it's not just happening in America, is women and colonized people remembering that they don't actually have to opt in to what society is been artificially pushing for hundreds of years. And so on the women's front, women are starting to realize I don't actually have to be married. I don't have to stay married. I don't have to become a mother if I don't want to. And I don't have to put up with abuse from men anymore because I'm worth more than that. So I think that self-empowerment from women is a big part. And to your point, with Black people in America specifically, we are starting to realize that we are probably more American than anybody. We've built all of this. The culture around the world is Black culture. That's the mainstream culture. When I went to Portugal, girl, I thought I was going to hear some traditional Portuguese music. Bitch, they were playing like Usher, Alicia Keys. I'm like, where's the Portuguese music? I can hear this at home. It sounded like Atlanta. I was like, what is going on? Like, we have created such beauty out of our ashes, and they keep playing in our face over and over and over again, and they keep acting stupid. So, okay, you want to act stupid, you want to be funny. We're all going to be hilarious. You're on your own, and we're not coming to save you, and we're not holding your hand through this again, because obviously what's happening now is that America is finally reaching a reckoning. And that reckoning is long overdue. We should have never got this far without it. The civil rights movement was a baby reckoning compared to what is happening right now, because at that time, society was still very, very much split on the race issue, on the woman issue. And now, with the exception of like the 30% who would literally kill themselves for Trump, majority of us are all on the same page about what humanity is, and what it is to be a democracy and what it is to be an American family. Most of us are on the same page about that. And so I think that what we're doing right now is a collective shadow work arc for America, where we finally start to face the shadow of this country that has been ignored for far too long because white people have monopolized the power and forced us all to live in this shared delusion that this is somehow the land of the free, even though we have the majority of the prisoners on planet Earth.
And
So,
guns.
and guns. Like, it's terrifying here. It's scary here. And it's always been scary here. They're just now getting scared. And we're all looking back, sitting back like, you're going to have to manage your emotions on your own. I'm not holding your hand, because we've been telling you guys since the 1850s, since Frederick Douglass's day, what it is. And you didn't want to listen. So now you're learning the hard way. Now your people are getting gunned down in the streets the same way our people were. And you want us to cry over you, but you never cried for us.
Yeah. And two, I'm like, we make up what, 13% of the population. I think we need a bit more than the 13% to save, like to turn this around. And I don't, this is bigger than us. So I mean, I thankfully have not had to engage in any conversations with anybody about like why aren't y'all involved, or, but I'm like, I think there's probably a reason why I haven't been in, like, I think God just knows, like, she doesn't need to engage in those conversations. But yeah, I think this is bigger than the 13, like us as a very small, relatively small community of people in this country can ever fix. And I think
But
the reason, a big part of why it's gotten, I mean, it probably should have collapsed like a while ago, but I think because of a lot of the work that we have done has kept it kind of going along, you know?
yeah, it has. We've kept this. We have been this country's life support. Us
Yeah.
and immigrants have been this country's life support, because if it were left up to white people, it would have disintegrated a long time ago. And that's not to, like, I'm not necessarily trying to shade white people, but they have a history of extremely barbaric and destructive behavior. That's just a fact. And
It's
it's
just,
like,
yeah.
you can see that behavior playing out in real time right now. And it's like, these are your guys' cousins and uncles and aunties, and like, this is your family. Like, do you know how many white friends I've had over the years, specifically since Trump came down that escalator in 15, do you know how many white people have told me that people in their own families took the mask off in a way that they never saw coming? These are literally their immediate family that are doing this. This is a war in white America. The rest of us don't have anything to do with this.
Yeah. When I listen to the news, I put that through the lens of they're not talking about us.
No, they're
Like
not.
when they say like America is more divided than ever, that's not us. That's and once I realized that, once I put that into thought and I was like, oh, they are more divided than ever.
They're more divided than ever. Theirs is split down the middle 50-50, like these paintings behind me.
Yeah, like
Like,
I don't have the angst of going to, holiday Thanksgiving dinners. Like it's just like, yeah, we all on the same page. Let's keep it moving. Who
we're
brought the
the
mac and
92.
cheese,
Like, we are literally 92%. And it's not just like in this past election. Every election, Americans act one, I mean, Black Americans act one band, one sound
Every time. Yeah.
every time. And so this reckoning, this shadow work, that's them. And you guys are going to have to go through that on your own. These Latinos that are joining ICE and voted for Trump and all of that because they think they're white or they want to be white, that is your identity issue to contend with. We, you and me and us, have been trying to tell other people of color for at least a century they are not your friends. They do not want you over there. The best you can do is to create your own universe within their world and try to be happy because that's what we did. And and our culture is completely unique. It doesn't have anything to do with various African cultures. It doesn't really have anything to do with various Caribbean cultures. Black American culture is very unique and very original. And we did that. We did that. We basically created American music, rap, jazz, country, bluegrass. Like all of it came from us.
Hmm.
Gospel, the food, the clothing, and it's like the colloquialisms, everything.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're such a small part of the population and we've been able to accomplish what we've accomplished, I think speaks volumes about how powerful our community is and how us sitting this one out is really going to be a game changer.
Yeah. I think so too. I mean, I also say, I knew in 20, like after the election, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna sit this one out. Like I'm not gonna be posting about like people should know where we all stand at this point. Anybody who knows me knows where I stand. I'm never like a gray line on anything really. Um,
Mhm.
but I am very happy to see that like people in our community are like having important conversations or going to therapy. My grandma is in her 70s. She just started going to therapy last year.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like I think that this is a really important time for us to focus on ourselves. Like
Yeah.
the only irk that I've had this year as it relates to the community, like the Black community, is Sinners when they got passed up on those awards
Mhm.
because people were up in arms about it. And I'm just like, I feel like we need to focus. Like, let's focus. There's bigger things, but also too, I'm like the biggest flex. And I was telling Akil, I was like, the biggest flex with that would be if people just stop submitting for these awards, like make it irrelevant. Because
Yes.
like similar to like, for example, the BET Awards. Remember, like there was a point when like all the major celebrities would go, and then like all of a sudden they just stopped going and it just became irrelevant. Like I think it
Yeah.
should be the same way, but for these award
Yeah.
shows.
Yeah. And but I saw somebody talking the other day about how the problem with the Black community is that they value material success too much and other types of success not enough. And
Mhm.
I think, I see what they're getting at, like, with the whole centers thing. Like, you guys, we created, not we, Ryan Coogler, Michael B. Jordan, all those people, they created a masterpiece of a film. And it's going to get its rewards, but you cannot expect this white establishment to do too much.
Yeah,
You can't expect that, and you really shouldn't even want that, because I wouldn't want to be measured by their standards anyway, because look at where their standards have gotten us. But I think that it's like, we've all, when you talk about like the Black community prioritizing material success too much, what shoes are you wearing, etc., Yeah, but we're in a very capitalistic environment, and I think that
Yeah.
might be a little unfair to pin that on the Black community.
And I think you can make the argument that anybody who lives in this type of society that we live in would feel that way. I think
I mean, you
my
can. Like, white people don't even put their blinds up or their curtains. They want you to see what they got so much.
yes,
So,
I think that for me, I think more the issue is that sometimes I feel like the Black community cares almost too much about, it's gonna sound, I'm just gonna say
it's
it.
yeah.
Sounds, I feel like our community sometimes cares too much about getting credit instead of just knowing. It's kind
Mhm.
of like when you just know the truth, like you don't have, like, I don't have to convince you of anything because I know that you know that we
Yeah.
all know what
Yeah.
it is. So I don't have to go seeking out you, like running, running you down to try to get you to admit that my work was better than yours or whatever. And it makes me think about Toni Morrison. She had that quote that she talked about like the very function of racism is distraction. And so you'll spend
Oh,
your whole life basically looking, presenting evidence as to why racism shouldn't exist or why black and white people are equal, blah, blah, blah. And like that's like one of the very functions of racism. And so I think about that so much when I think about our community because it's like we're constantly looking to get the credit, to prove our worth, to, instead of just being like, the work that like the things that we produce, the culture that we produce, it influences. Like I don't have to convince you. You know and I know because otherwise you wouldn't be copying off of me. You wouldn't be giving
exactly.
awards to Marty Supreme when you know that like, it's just so I feel
I
like if we just rendered them useless by just not even attempting to even submit
engage.
words or engage.
That's really, really interesting because I've been having the same thought. I just haven't articulated it as well as you just did. I 1000% agree. Like, what I've been thinking this whole time is just ignore them. Just ignore them. Like, just stop engaging because that's what I've done. I'm not about to keep going back and forth with you. Like, I remember in 2015, 2016, I used to get in knockdown, drag out fights
In the
about this.
comments section, oh, I was in there.
It was crazy. And now it's gotten to a point where I'm like, the fact that you don't know better about certain things makes me feel as if this conversation is beneath me. And I'm not even going to engage with this bullshit because I do believe that once we collectively pull our attention away from them, their power disintegrates completely, which is why their power has been waning for like 100 years because more and more we don't want to be a part of that anymore. Y'all
Yeah.
got it. You got it. And it's like I do think that people of color, black people and people of color in general have an issue with seeking validation from white people, which I think is very strange considering the fact that they've created nothing. They've taken ownership of a lot. And I'm not saying that there aren't talented and brilliant white people. I'm saying, like, culturally as a collective, everything they have is because of us. So why would I go to you? Why would I, the creator, go to you, the creation, and seek your approval? You really should be seeking mine.
Yeah.
And so I'm holding my head high and I'm turning my back on you, truly.
Yeah.
And that's like how we fix this.
Yeah, well, I've heard, I mean, you're seeing it all over the place now. Like, I
Mhm.
personally think we're witnessing the downfall of colonialism. I think it will take some decades, but I think we're seeing it. And like, I'm actively divesting. Like, I have even started watching like more foreign films, foreign TV shows. Like, I am completely trying my best to pull my attention away because at this point, like, that's tech companies because you're right, like they don't there's not really anything that they've originally produced. I mean, I
No.
guess violence, I mean, and
Yeah, I mean, like,
war
you guys
movies,
see
war
what
movies. Um,
yeah.
but other than that, it has been from us. And so I'm like, I think I'm just gonna go in and turn my attention to the originators. Like I will, you know, right now I'm watching like a Colombian sitcom from like 20 years
Mhm.
ago and having a wonderful time.
Very dramatic.
Yes. So, Yeah. I'm excited. I'm hoping that more people, and I think it will happen naturally, more people from like the Black community and just like globally will continue pulling attention and resources away. Because I think that it really is like
Yeah,
a narcissistic, abusive relationship.
extremely.
Yeah.
And even on another like spiritual level, they're harvesting our energy and they're feeding on it. They want to be seen. They want attention. They want you to freak out and to hyperventilate and to give up hope and to despair. And I've just gotten to this point where I'm like, I'm not feeding you anymore. If you want to be fed, then go to your like white counterparts who is this is their first time seeing it. They're going to give you all the despair and hopelessness you need. I'm
Yeah.
not participating in that anymore.
Yeah.
I just refuse.
Yeah, I am very much just prioritizing my joy. I'm
Yeah.
like, we come from a very long line of people who sought joy and experienced joy in whatever way they could. And I feel like I can confidently say, like, I am the freest of anyone of
Yeah.
my ancestors, I guess, up and from slavery, 1619 until now. Um,
Hmm.
and so I'm gonna take that and run with it and be as joyful as I can
I
because it
agree.
hasn't always been a privilege.
Exactly. I, in my matrilineal line, I think I'm probably the only woman who has ever been child free and unmarried at 31, ever in my entire lineage, probably in my patrilineage too. And I'm
Mm.
going to take advantage of that. Like, I've got enough choices and enough freedom for all of us. And I'm definitely going to take that ball and run with it as far as I possibly can. And that doesn't mean that I'll never have kids or get married, but I'm saying, like, I'm prioritizing certain things that the women before me just couldn't. They couldn't prioritize it because
Yeah,
of when they were born. And so I feel like I owe it to my ancestors and to my mother to do the best I can in this world. And that means not joining them in their misery over there because that's all they have is destruction and misery. And I want no parts of it anymore.
yeah, yeah. I think if we've gone through it, if we've gone through like a grieving process, I think a lot of us have reached the acceptance phase and like what's
Yes.
after acceptance.
Yes. I think the denial part started in 1619. So we've been at this for a long time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I guess my last question for you would be, what is inspiring you and giving you hope recently?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, hmm. So Doechii recently released a song called Girl Get Up. Have you listened to it?
Yes.
I love that song. And at one point in the song, she says, "Bitch, I want my things Nissan to a Bentley coupe. F you mean?" You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And I think that what has been inspiring me so much is seeing so many, I have to say, Black people, so many Black people fully stepping into their craft and fully being unapologetically creative and innovative and visionary. Like Doechii, Doja Cat, Ryan Coogler, Michael B. Jordan, Wumi, I forget her last name, but you know, Wumi, she played Annie in Sinners. And I think that what gives me hope is the quality of the art that's been coming out in the past few years. Like, it is so awe-inspiring, and it's not just Black creators. I'm a huge fan of Sabrina Carpenter. I think that the brand of womanhood that she is presenting is so needed. That fun, sexy, whimsical, young, I'm a woman and this is what I want to do with my body vibe. Like, Miley Cyrus being the last living rock star. Like, I'm so inspired by other artists who are living in their art and not deprioritizing it, but being unapologetically creative. And there's so many people online who are doing that too. And I think that's what gives me hope is that I do believe that we have been in a dark period in America for a long time. And I think that we're headed into an American Renaissance that will rival and go beyond the New Deal era, that will
Yeah.
rival and go beyond the Reconstruction era. Like, I think that we are headed into a beautiful timeline. And I'm just really excited to be a part of it and to be a leader in that timeline.
Yeah, I love that.
Thank you.
Well, I've enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for inviting me to do this. This has been fun.